Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about a recent article that just came out regarding an issue I had just last week, if you guys remember, regarding customs and getting your ASIC delivery, specifically if you are in the US. Okay, so it's not just me that this was happening to, in quite a few other cases, and it's not just as of this past week, right? There's a bigger investigation going on. We'll talk about a recent article that came out kind of going in depth regarding it and how the two things aren't fully related, but one probably led into the other. Okay, so we'll talk about it. We'll give our thoughts on this kind of fluid situation. Okay, that sounds good, guys. Stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So if any of you guys caught that post I did last week, we did get a heads up from some of the resellers. They did put a warning out. So according to the notice from HKDHL, due to the serious underdeclaration of shipments to the US, from now on the following 5 ports will not accept shipments declared under 800 USD, and Hong Kong DHL will also refuse to accept them. Okay, so this is not every port, it's not all ports, and it's not all boxes. Okay, so far it seems kind of sporadic. I did get hit with this, I guess, in a way. So they didn't know what the hell to do. I know a lot of people are saying that, like, oh, if your box gets pulled for inspection, it's going to get this. Of course, they're going to look up the value. They're going to look up all this stuff. From the limited communication I had regarding this, they have no idea what the hell they're looking at. Okay, so some of this seems to be random. It seems like maybe they're just selecting random packages during that slow time. Obviously, right now with the holidays, Black Friday, I highly doubt they're going to be scrutinizing this little one-at-a-time packages. But this is something that is happening, not just to me. I've seen it happen to quite a few others now recently, just this past week. Okay, so we're going to talk about another situation that's likely kind of led into this, right? So there's another big situation going on that's been ongoing. If any of you guys remember that article that came out not too long ago between Bitmain and Huawei and what was going on there. We'll go over that article. We'll talk about it. So I don't think these two things are linked, but most likely what's happening with that first investigation, they probably discovered this, and that's what's leading to this, because this other portion has been going on for a while now. So most likely from them doing further investigations and further scrutinizing these things, they probably discovered a lot of people undervaluing things, and that's what's kind of leading to this. So I don't think they're linked. I think they're two separate things, but one is because of the other. Okay, so let's get to this article so we can see what we found. So shout out to Blockspace for putting this out. This article came out 2 days ago. My situation was back 5 days ago and actually happened prior to this, right? So that was well over a week ago, but just noticed a few days after I had my situation, this came out, and that's why we talked about it then. And in my case, again, going with the whole thing that they don't know what they're looking at and they don't even know what the heck they're billing. Mine was done completely incorrectly. Mine shouldn't have never even gotten any duties because it was under that $800 threshold, but that's a whole other thing. Let's get to this article. So officials are halting Bitmain units at U.S. ports, industry firms report. Okay. So according to 7 US-based Bitcoin mining companies who spoke with Blockspace on the condition of anonymity, the FCC has requested CBP to hold certain shipments of Bitmain ASIC miners at ports of entry. This is huge. The CBP has held some of these shipments for 2 months, and the holdups are happening nationwide. Okay, so it's not even just those specific ports, said one source, including ports in San Fran and Detroit. Okay, this initial warning was just regarding more of the southern ports, but it does seem like this is happening elsewhere. And again, I think this specifically is a different instance than what's happening now with me with that reseller warning. Okay, so the imports in question are for Bitmain's Antminer S21 and T21 series. The latest series of ASIC miners from Bitmain. Sources claim that the FCC and CBP are not targeting other ASIC manufacturers like MicroBT or Canaan. Beyond revealing that the FCC requested the freeze, okay, so they did confirm that the FCC requested the freeze, the CBP did not provide a specific reason for the action nor a timeline for how long it would hold the shipments to the affected parties. One source whose shipment holds are now approaching months mentioned that CBP holds extending beyond 30 days with no clear request of the importer of record are beyond usual service standards and extremely rare. They continued to say that they had observed advanced targeting unit personnel at certain ports of entry related to the holds, and that some companies have started recommending others to avoid certain ports of entry, specifically those on the West Coast, which is kind of ironic because this most recent warning was in the southern area. Another source said that CBP is holding some 200 units. The CBP and FCC have not only ignored the company's request for info, but they are charging a daily holding fee that has ballooned to over $200K. So these mass shipment freezes are unprecedented for Bitcoin miners, and our sources were unsure why exactly the imports are being held up. One conjectured that the halts might have to do with Antminer control boards that use chips from Softco. If any of you guys remember, we have talked about them. That is Bitmain's AI arm, right? They do actually make AI chips. The company is under scrutiny after allegedly violating U.S. sanctions for supplying chips to Huawei, the Chinese tech giant that has been under the yoke of U.S. sanctions since 2019, and it shares a CEO, Mike Rizan, with Bitmain. After a Softco chip was discovered on a Huawei device, TMC cut off business relations with the company. There is no clear evidence to substantiate the claim that the import halts are related to the scrutiny of Softco, but our sources confirm that Bitmain does use a Softco chip, the CV1835, in the Antminer T21 and certain S19 series ASICs, including the S19K Pro, S19XP, S19 Pro, and certain S19J Pro models. Given that Softco may be under investigation by the Department of Commerce, this has led to speculation that the FCC and CBP are holding shipments to check them for these chips. It's worth noting that Bitmain sources control boards from a variety of vendors, so just because the Bitmain uses the CV1835 chip, for some models, it does not mean that every unit of these models has the chip in question. So, after doing a little bit more digging, we found out that this chip is actually used in a wider variety of boards. It's not limited to just the S21s, the T21s, and the models listed here. This is on a bunch of ASICs, specifically the newer ASICs. They did list like S19 series. I don't think that's the case specific with the older ones. It was specifically the S19K Pro. Essentially, any of the ones that had the square plug fan adapter, those 4 pins versus the previous size, the squares, it seems like those specific boards. As we searched through the chips, we kind of found that out. So this may affect a ton of them, and it's going to be hard to decipher them, right? Again, a lot of these guys do not know what the heck they're looking at, and a lot of these chips are unlabeled, right? So it's going to be tricky here. So definitely a good article. Shout out to Hanson710 in the chat for kind of pointing this out to me. I did not realize that there was a whole big thing on this, and now a lot of this makes sense. So in this article, they're stating it's specific to Bitmain units. So again, some of these are things that happened a while back, but most likely from them scrutinizing these packages, scrutinizing these shipments, they may have found the issue with things getting undeclared, and that may have led to this. So I don't think it's related. I don't think they're stopping them and charging tariffs and such because of this investigation that's going on with Bitmain. It's most likely something that was discovered, and they're kind of scrutinizing those things a bit more. Okay, so although they're kind of making it seem related, I don't think it's necessarily super related, but I think, it's because of one causing the other. So again, they did list the specific chip, and as we do a little digging, right, if you look it up, it is definitely a Softco chip. Oddly enough, when you Google it and you try to go to the webpage for it, guess what? They got rid of it. Okay, but you can scroll through, you can see that it is a Softco chip, it is in other devices, and now, once knowing that chip, once we start searching for control boards, this is where things kind of open up. Okay, so it's specific to the new gen of control boards. In this case, Altair Tech has, for example, the S19K Pro. As we continue to dig, there are other models that utilize this board. Okay, when you go on the Bitmain website, it has listed for S21 and T21, but then as you as you go through a little bit more, it's also used for the KS3, the KS5, the X5. And when you dig even more, it turns out this chip was also used, right, the Civtech CV1835, on a whole shitload of ASICs. Okay, pretty much any of the new gen ASICs can have this board. Okay, you can see here the S21, T21, S19JXP, KS5, 5 Pro, S3, X5, XP, different variations of the, well, actually they do have the S19s listed on here, so it can be that one also. L1s, L9s, the whole gamut. Okay, again, like they mentioned in the article, there are different variations. It's going to be extremely hard for them to go through each control board, kind of figure it out. This is definitely going to be a tricky situation if this is actually what they are looking for. Okay, so again, this does affect potentially a ton of units, and right now, this specific instance with the whole FCC seizure, it's going to be specific to those Bitmain units. Okay, and it's specifically because of this control board. Now, what are the fixes? Again, they're not necessarily saying a whole lot, right? They're not giving us much info or resolution. Like, obviously, the easiest resolution is to ship these things without a control board, switch control boards, switch to a different vendor, switch to whatever other chips that obviously aren't utilizing those, whatever they got to do. But this is going to suck because, again, until they come up with a resolution, it may be potential that they just scrutinize these things and hang on to them like they've had with these other people for months and months on end. Okay, so these are two different things, though. Again, most of these shipments, I'm assuming that these guys were talking to, again, they were US-based Bitcoin mining companies. So most likely it also does kind of stand out because it's not just onesies, twosies. It's like pallets of ASICs. Okay, so that's potentially also why those specifically are getting scrutinized. But just be aware that this could happen, right? So it's hard to say because, again, I've seen a lot of people just this past week, even after my little incident, continue to get their ASICs with zero issues. Okay, especially, again, like I mentioned right now, during this busy time, I don't think it's going to be an issue. What people may want to do, specifically resellers, is package it in a way where the big Bitmain tape and the big Bitmain logo isn't on the box if they are in fact targeting these things. Okay, because they all don't have a shipping label that comes from Bitmain. They're all coming from different warehouses in China or wherever it's shipped from. It's not always from China. Could be Malaysia, could be other locations as well. So kind of a tricky situation. So it doesn't mean every ASIC is going to get stopped, because even with like my little situation, it was mine. But again, other people have had theirs go through, zero issues. Okay, so right now it does seem to be hit or miss. We don't know the extent of it, but again, these are two separate things. Like this warning here is one thing, and this issue over here is another. Okay, so they are not the same thing. They shouldn't be intertwined. Is it just odd timing? I guess. I mean, this came out November 25th. My thing was just last week. Don't necessarily believe in coincidences. Again, hard to say what's going on here. Hard to say where things are going to continue. But again, just you want to verify if you guys are purchasing any ASICs, you want to verify, see if they have DDP shipping. Okay, so DDP, if you're unfamiliar, it's delivered, duty paid. Essentially, the seller is responsible for all of that good stuff, right? And it should be your all-in price. There's different ways of doing it. I know a lot of the vendors, what they've essentially been doing is they've been undervaluing the items in order to not get hit with those fees, which is something that's been going on for a long ass time. Okay, are the days of that potentially over? Potentially. Is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be hit or miss? Maybe. But if you are considering buying one, there are options. You may want to see if it's a place that has delivery to the US. Maybe they have a warehouse here that can deliver it there. And then from there, they can deliver it to you. That would be one way to get rid of that risk factor there. As far as who's doing that, we don't know. But again, if this does become an issue, just expect there to be workarounds, right? So again, none of this is for sure. We don't really know, but just do not be surprised if you do get hit with fees. Unfortunately, whoever you're dealing with may not even be familiar with the law in whole. They're just rushing through things. May be misunderstanding things. You may have to file separate claims. But you may want to check to see regarding DDP shipping and what that entails, how much it's going to be, etc., just because this may be an issue. It may not, though. Again, right now with the holidays and everything going on, I don't see them scrutinizing every single freaking package. As we've already seen, they're not. right? It's just certain people are being unfortunate or having bad luck essentially. And this is not something new. This is something that's been hit or miss for quite a while. Specifically, the Miami port's been horrible with that. Very few instances, but there have been issues in the past regarding that, right? Whether a package got held up, it was there for an excessive amount of time, or they got hit with duties. Some cases where they shouldn't have, and some cases where it was undervalued and they had to pay that difference. Okay, so just make sure, again, if you are purchasing ASICs, go with a trusted seller, whoever it is. I would contact them ahead of time, let them know if you have any concerns and how they're handling it. And if they're not going to have any issues, then go with that seller, right? Because right now it is going to be a little tumultuous. We don't know the extent of what's going on. If any of you guys have ordered anything recently, I know a lot of you guys ordered script ASICs. As time passes and you get your shipment, guys, if you do me a favor, post if you've had any issues in the comments. Even if it's at a future date, come back that we can kind of see what's going on and see the extent of it, right? I had an issue. I know there's been quite a few other YouTubers and a few of you guys have also commented as well. Some of them where it just got stopped for inspected. Sometimes it happens for like half a day or a day. Some it's been like a week and they haven't heard anything yet. So just kind of weird times, guys. And then none of this is also in relation to the rumors, not the rumors, but the potential of tariffs coming in the future. It's potentially another hurdle. Nothing official yet. We're going to have to wait to see what happens there. But things are definitely changing in this department, right? Do not be surprised to just be having to pay these full duty fee, which is 28%, which is hefty. Again, if it's a cheaper ASIC under $2,000, yes, it sucks. But if it's, especially you guys overpaying on these like L9s and paying like $15,000, $17,000, $18,000 for these things, that 28% is going to hurt. Okay, so just be aware of all these things. Have a good relationship with your reseller. Talk to that reseller. See what's going on, because chances are, again, these guys have deliveries going on all the time. They are the best source to see kind of what's going on. Okay, let me know in the comments, guys, how you feel about this. Have you been affected by this? Let us know in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out.